The gleaming marble lobby of Sterling and White Investment Partners spoke of old money and even older prejudices. I adjusted my worn leather jacket deliberately chosen for today's meeting, and approached the reception desk, my steel-toed work boots echoing against the polished floor. "I'm here for the 10 a.m. meeting with Mr. Sterling," I said, watching the receptionist's perfectly penciled eyebrows rise as she took in my appearance. "The maintenance entrance is around back," she replied, not even bothering to check her computer. "Service personnel aren't allowed in the main lobby." I pulled out my driver's license. "Daniel Martinez. I have an appointment." She glanced at her screen, then back at me with obvious disbelief. There must be some mistake. "The Daniel Martinez on our schedule is a potential major investor." "That's correct." Her perfectly manicured fingers hovered over the phone. "I'll need to verify this." "Please do." I settled into one of the leather armchairs, enjoying her growing discomfort as she made several hushed phone calls. After 10 minutes of bureaucratic confusion, a junior associate appeared, Thomas Wellington III, according to his gleaming nameplate. His Brooks Brothers suit probably cost more than I spent on clothes in a year. "There seems to be some confusion," he began, his tone suggesting I was somehow at fault. "We're expecting a Mr. Martinez regarding a significant investment opportunity." I stood up, deliberately letting him see my full appearance. The worn jeans, the scuffed work boots, the calloused hands of someone who'd actually worked for a living. "No confusion. I'm your 10 a.m. Wellington's face went through several interesting expressions. "Sir, this is a prestigious firm. We handle serious investments, not people who look like janitors." I finished for him. "Interesting assumption. Should we discuss my portfolio now, or would you prefer I use the service entrance?" Before he could respond, a booming voice cut through the lobby. "Danny boy. Is that you?" Jeffrey Chin, one of Sterling and White's senior partners, strode across the marble floor with a genuine smile. We'd met at a tech conference last year where I'd been a keynote speaker, though I doubted Wellington had ever bothered to attend such events. "Jeff," I clasped his offered hand. "Good to see you again." Wellington's face had gone from dismissive to confused to slightly panicked. "Mr. Chin, you know this gentleman?" Jeff's smile turned sharp. "Know him? This gentleman sold his tech startup for $300 million last year. One of the smartest investors I've ever met." He turned to me. "Though I see you're still dressing like you did when you were coding in your garage." I shrugged. "Old habits. Besides, it's interesting to see how people react when they can't judge by the usual markers." The receptionist had turned an interesting shade of pink. Wellington was trying to disappear into his expensive suit. "Come on up," Jeff said, leading me toward the private elevators. "Though I have to ask, why Sterling and White? You could manage your own investments." "I could," I agreed as we ascended. "But I'm interested in your new tech fund. Assuming, of course, that the firm is comfortable working with someone who looks like maintenance staff." Wellington, who had somehow ended up in the elevator with us, made a strangled sound. The executive floor was everything you'd expect. All mahogany panels and oil paintings of stern-faced men in suits. Bradford Sterling III, the firm's managing partner, waited in the conference room along with several other partners. "Ah, Mr. Martinez," Sterling began, then stopped short as he took in my appearance. To his credit, he recovered quickly. "Welcome to Sterling and White." I sat down at the polished table, pulling out my battered laptop. "Shall we discuss the tech fund? I have some questions about your investment strategy in emerging markets." Sterling nodded to an associate who began a clearly rehearsed presentation. I let them get through 3 slides before interrupting. "Your analysis of the Asian tech sector is outdated," I said, turning my laptop around. "These are the actual numbers from last quarter. Your projections are off by about 40%. The room went silent. Sterling leaned forward, studying my screen. "How did you get this data?" "It's not public yet." "I know people," I said simply. "Just like I know your fund's strategy is based on assumptions that haven't been true since 2019. "And you know this because," one of the partners asked skeptically. I pulled up another file. "Because I've founded 3 tech companies, sold 2, and currently sit on the boards of 5 others. Would you like their financial statements?" The atmosphere in the room shifted. Suddenly, my worn jacket and work boots didn't seem to matter quite so much. Sterling cleared his throat. Perhaps we should discuss your unique insights. Perhaps we should, I agreed. But first, I'd like to address the assumption that someone's worth can be judged by their appearance. I looked directly at Wellington, who had been trying to blend into the wallpaper. Your junior associate suggested I use the service entrance. Your receptionist assumed I was maintenance staff. Should I take my $50 million investment elsewhere? The conference room's tension could have been cut with a knife. Bradford Sterling's face had turned an interesting shade of red, while Wellington looked like he wanted the expensive carpet to swallow him whole. Mr. Martinez, Sterling began, his voice carefully modulated, I assure you that this isn't representative of our firm's values. Isn't it? I interrupted, pulling out my phone. Let me show you something interesting. I connected to the room's projection system, displaying a series of security camera screenshots from the lobby. In the past month, your firm has turned away 12 potential clients because they didn't fit your image. 3 of them were CEOs of emerging tech companies. 1 was a crypto billionaire. Jeff Chen leaned forward. How did you get this data? I bought the security company that services this building last week. I smiled. Along with the cleaning service, the parking management company, and the coffee shop downstairs. I like to understand a business from the ground up before I invest. The partners exchanged alarmed glances. Wellington looked ready to faint. You see, I continued, switching to another screen, while your firm was busy judging people by their clothes, you missed something crucial. The service industry sees everything. Your janitors know which partners stay late trading Asian markets. Your parking attendants know which analysts are meeting with competing firms. Your baristas hear every pre-meeting strategy discussion. I pulled up more data. For instance, did you know that your fund's actual performance is 23% lower than your reported figures? Or that 3 of your top analysts are planning to leave for Goldman Sachs next month? Sterling's composure finally cracked. How could you possibly know all this? I finished for him. Because while you were busy protecting your prestigious image, I was building an empire from the ground up. Those work boots you all look down on? I wore them while installing the first servers for my tech company. This jacket? I was wearing it when I signed my first $1 million contract. I stood up, walking around the table slowly. Your firm manages $12 billion in assets. Impressive. But you've become so focused on maintaining an image that you've forgotten what actually builds wealth. Innovation, hard work, and the ability to see value where others see nothing. Wellington, perhaps finding a spark of courage, spoke up. But surely you understand the need for professional standards. Professional standards? I turned to him. Like judging someone's worth by their clothes? Tell me, Mr. Wellington, what's the current volatility index of emerging market tech stocks? He stammered, unable to answer. The woman you dismissed as a janitor last week? The one you made cry? She has a PhD in quantum computing and runs a successful AI startup. But she doesn't wear designer suits, so clearly she couldn't be important, right? The room fell silent again. Even Sterling looked uncomfortable. I returned to my seat, pulling up another set of figures. Now let's talk about your tech fund. Your strategy is fundamentally flawed because you're looking at tech through an old money lens. You're missing the actual innovators because they don't fit your country club image. Jeff Chen, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. What are you proposing, Danny? A choice, I replied, opening my laptop again. I have $50 million to invest. But more importantly, I have access to a network of tech entrepreneurs who collectively control over $100 billion in assets. Entrepreneurs who've been dismissed by firms exactly like yours because they don't fit your profile. I displayed a new presentation. Option 1. I walk out of here and start my own fund specifically targeting the innovators you've overlooked. Within a year I'll have poached your best analysts and captured the market share you're too blind to see. Sterling shifted uncomfortably. And option 2? I invest the $50 million. But with conditions. Major changes to your recruitment, investment strategy, and most importantly, your culture. I glanced at Wellington. Starting with your junior staff's attitudes. The next hour transformed Sterling and White's carefully maintained world. I laid out my conditions with surgical precision, each point hitting like a carefully aimed arrow at their outdated practices. First, I said, pulling up detailed analysis, your entire investment strategy needs an overhaul. Your tech fund is basically a dinosaur trying to understand smartphones. I displayed a chart showing missed opportunities. While you were chasing established companies with CEOs who look like you missed 17 unicorns in the past year alone. Sterling studied the numbers, his face growing increasingly pale. These companies, they weren't even on our radar. Because your analysts don't understand modern tech, I explained. They're looking for people who fit their preconceptions of success. Meanwhile, the real innovations are happening in garages, makeshift labs, and coffee shops. I switched to another screen. Second condition: your hiring practices change immediately. I want to see diversity at every level, not just ethnic and gender diversity, but diversity of background and experience. That could be challenging, one of the partners ventured. Only if you're stuck in 1950, I countered. Let me introduce you to some people. I pulled up profiles on the screen. The janitor who cleaned this room last night? MIT graduate working on a revolutionary blockchain project. The guy who delivers your mail? Former quantum computing researcher, building a quantum-secure encryption company. The partners looked increasingly uncomfortable as I continued. Your parking attendant? She's a brilliant AI researcher who couldn't get funding because she doesn't present the right way. I've already invested in her startup. It's worth $40 million now. Wellington, who had been silent, finally spoke up. But our clients expect a certain standard. Your clients expect returns, I corrected him. And your current standards are costing them money. I displayed more figures. While you were maintaining your image, funds that embrace diversity outperformed you by 34%. Jeff Chin nodded slowly. He's right. We've become too focused on appearance and not enough on substance. I continued with my conditions. Third, complete restructuring of your analyst program. I want people who understand technology because they've built it, not just because they read about it in business school. And if we refuse? Sterling asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. I smiled, pulling up one final document. Remember how I mentioned buying your building service companies? Well, I also bought something else. I turned the screen toward them. A controlling interest in your firm's parent company. The room erupted in chaos. Wellington actually dropped his Mont Blanc pen. You what? Sterling stammered. While you were all busy judging me by my boots, I was busy buying shares through various shell companies. I leaned back. As of this morning, I own 51% of Sterling and White's parent corporation. So these aren't really conditions, they're instructions. The next few hours were a blur of legal documents, shocked expressions, and rapidly shifting power dynamics. I appointed Jeff Chin as the new head of restructuring. He at least had shown the ability to see past appearances. Wellington, to everyone's surprise, asked to be part of the new analyst training program. I want to learn, he said quietly. Really learn, not just pretend. By evening, Sterling and White was fundamentally different. The marble lobby still gleamed, but now it welcomed everyone with genuine potential, regardless of their attire. The reception desk had a new policy: judge by ideas, not appearances. I stayed late, working from my laptop in what had been Sterling's office. The view of the city was spectacular, but I found myself thinking about my first office, a converted garage where I'd built my first company. A knock at the door revealed the cleaning lady, the quantum computing PhD I'd mentioned earlier. Mr. Martinez? I heard about what happened today. Maria, I smiled. How's the quantum encryption project going? She beamed. We just hit a breakthrough. Would you like to see the data? Pull up a chair, I said, closing my laptop. And please call me Danny. For the next hour we discussed quantum algorithms and market applications. She was brilliant, her eyes shining as she explained complex concepts. This, I thought, was what Sterling and White had been missing, the raw, passionate intelligence that drives real innovation. The next morning I called a company-wide meeting. Employees from every level packed the main conference room, analysts in expensive suits sitting next to maintenance staff in work uniforms. From today, I announced, Sterling and White operates differently. Your value here will be measured by what you know, what you can do, and what you can imagine, not by what you wear or how you look. I pointed to Maria, now sitting in the front row. Your new head of quantum computing technology. Then to the former parking attendant. Your new AI division chief. The room buzzed with surprised murmurs. Some of you are wondering if this will hurt our reputation, I continued. Well, let me show you something. I displayed our stock price, up 27% since yesterday's announcement of the changes. The world is changing, I told them. The next billion-dollar idea won't come from a country club or a golf course. It'll come from someone who thinks differently, who sees things others miss. Our job is to find those people, believe in them, and help them succeed. Wellington, sitting in the back in a notably less expensive suit, was taking notes. He'd asked to start over as a junior analyst, this time learning the right way. One last thing, I said, turning to the maintenance staff. Those service companies I bought? They're now part of Sterling and White. Their employees get the same benefits, opportunities, and respect as everyone else. Because innovation doesn't care what door you use to enter the building. As the meeting ended, I watched the crowd mingle, suits talking with uniforms, barriers breaking down, ideas flowing freely. This was how real value was created. I kept my worn jacket and work boots. They became a symbol around the office, a reminder that appearance doesn't equal worth. Sometimes the most valuable things come in unexpected packages. 6 months later, Sterling and White's tech fund had doubled in value. Our analyst team, now the most diverse on Wall Street, was consistently identifying opportunities our competitors missed. Maria's quantum computing division had 3 patents pending. In that lobby, we replaced the marble with something more practical. But we kept one small piece mounted in a frame with a plaque that reads, "Judge by character, not appearance." The future doesn't wear a suit. As for me, I still use the service entrance sometimes. After all, that's where you hear the real stories, meet the real innovators, and find the real opportunities that others are too blind to see. Because true value isn't about how you look or what you wear. It's about what you build, what you create, and most importantly, how you treat others along the way. And sometimes, the best investment you can make is in the people everyone else ignores.